All right, let's just dive right into this explainer, because today we are completely reframing how we think about cholesterol. For literally decades, it's been painted as this pure villain, right? Like the ultimate bad guy of health. But we're going to use the source material we've gathered to move way past that fear-mongering and really understand its true, beautifully complex nature.
So here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with what exactly cholesterol is, cover its 4 vital bodily functions, look at the good and bad carriers, dive into old-school cholesterol testing, explore the particle size revelation, and finally talk about taking control of your health. Let's get to it.
Section 1. What exactly is cholesterol? Let's just cover the basics. So, cholesterol is this waxy, fat-like substance. But here's the real kicker. It's primarily produced by your own body. Sure, it's also found in animal-based foods. We're talking meat, poultry, full-fat dairy. But your liver already makes all the cholesterol you need. That makes it an entirely natural, biologically essential substance floating around inside you right now. It's not some alien invader. It's literally a homegrown product.
Moving to Section 2, 4 vital bodily functions, or why we actually need it.
Now, there are 4 major functions here that completely redeem cholesterol's bad reputation. First off, it maintains the structural integrity and fluidity of all your cell membranes. It literally allows your cells to change shape and move without needing some rigid cell wall. Second, it aids in the absorption and production of vitamin D whenever sunlight hits your skin. Third, it creates bile. That's what breaks down fats so your digestive enzymes can actually do their jobs. And fourth, it acts as a precursor for crucial sex hormones, like testosterone and estrogen. I mean, think about it. Without cholesterol giving our cells shape, helping us process sunlight, digesting our food, and regulating our hormones, we literally could not survive.
Which leads us to a pretty massive contradiction, right? I mean, if cholesterol is a part of all these absolutely critical bodily functions, why are we as a society so incredibly afraid of it? Well, to answer that, we actually have to look away from the cholesterol itself and look at the vehicles transporting it. That brings us to Section 3. Good and bad carriers. Let's talk about lipoproteins.
Meet the lipoproteins. You can think of these as biological package carriers, whose main purpose is to transport fats, like cholesterol and triglycerides, from place to place all throughout your bloodstream. Honestly, it helps to think of lipoproteins as a fleet of delivery trucks driving on the highway of your blood vessels. The cholesterol? That's just the cargo inside. And having healthy levels of these delivery trucks is absolutely essential to keep your body running smoothly.
But, you know, not all trucks are driven the same way. We've got 2 main types of carriers here. On one side, we have low-density lipoproteins, or LDL. These are usually labeled the bad carriers because they contribute to thick, hard plaque deposits in your arteries. On the flip side, we have high-density lipoproteins, or HDL. These are the good scavengers. They act kind of like a cleanup crew, carrying that LDL away from your arteries and hauling it back to the liver to be recycled or excreted. So it's really this constant, delicate balancing act between the depositors and the cleaners.
All right, Section 4, old school cholesterol testing. Let's look at Method 1.
To understand why doctors test for this stuff in the first place, we have to look at the atherosclerosis process. Step 1, those LDL carriers stick to small tears in your artery walls. Step 2, they release their cargo, the cholesterol, right into the wall itself. Step 3, as this keeps happening over time, plaque builds up, making those arteries a lot less flexible. And finally, Step 4, if a clot forms in that newly narrowed space, well, that can cause a heart attack or a stroke. This sequence right here is exactly why organizations like the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute warn us that higher LDL levels mean a significantly greater chance of heart disease.
And because of that severe risk, traditional medical guidance is super proactive. The American Heart Association recommends that literally all adults age 20 or older get tested every 4 to 6 years. This standard test spits out a specific set of numbers that doctors have relied on for decades to gauge your health.
So here's the actual math behind that old-school evaluation, which we're going to call Method 1. Your total blood cholesterol equals your HDL plus your LDL plus 20% of your triglycerides. Your doctor takes this specific equation, looks at it alongside other critical risk factors, things like your age, family history, smoking habits, and uses the whole picture to gauge your overall heart disease risk. For a long time, this has been the established baseline for cardiovascular health.
But science rarely stands still, right? Section 5, the particle size revelation. Let's talk about Method 2.
To really understand this newer Method 2, which completely shifts the focus away from total volume and entirely onto the actual physical size of the LDL particles, we need to visualize a simple math problem. I want you to imagine a bloodstream that needs to transport exactly 9 pieces of cholesterol. Just lock that number 9 in your head for a second.
Okay, let's look at 2 very different ways to deliver those 9 pieces. Example 1 uses 3 large particles, and each one is carrying 3 pieces of cholesterol. Now, example 2 uses 9 small, dense particles, and each of those is carrying just 1 piece. Both examples contain the exact same amount of total cholesterol, right? 9 pieces. But example 2 has a way higher quantity of those small vehicles. And here's why that matters so much. Those tiny, dense LDL particles can much more easily crash into, stick to, and penetrate your arterial walls. And that drives up that dangerous plaque buildup we were just talking about.
This really highlights the hidden danger. As the research notes, studies have shown that people who have mostly small particles have up to a 3 times greater risk of developing heart disease. Let that sink in. That staggering statistic reveals exactly why researchers advocating for Method 2 believe total volume just isn't the whole story. The size of the delivery truck matters just as much, if not way more, than the total amount of cargo out there on the highway.
Let's actually apply this to a real-world scenario. Imagine a hypothetical patient named Kevin. Kevin goes in for the traditional Method 1 test, and his LDL number comes back at 95. Now, according to the old school rules, 95 is optimal. High fives all around, right? Well, actually, Method 2 researchers would argue that 95 tells Kevin absolutely nothing about his actual danger level. Because if Kevin's particles are mostly small and dense, he might genuinely be in a very high-risk category for heart disease without having any clue. And that's simply because his standard test only measured the volume, not the particle size.
So where does that leave us? Section 6. Taking control of your health.
Whether you and your doctor choose to focus on lowering overall LDL, increasing your HDL, or increasing your LDL particle size, the next steps are universally supported by research across the board. The testing methods might be up for debate, but the solutions, they are remarkably consistent. Research suggests that diet and exercise have the absolute most dramatic effect on altering your cholesterol levels and your particle sizes for the better. We're talking about increasing your whole food consumption, significantly cutting down on highly processed foods and added sugars, opting for healthier fats and high antioxidant foods, and of course, just getting moving, increasing your physical activity. These lifestyle interventions are your absolute best tools for actively managing those microscopic delivery trucks.
So, we've unpacked the vital functions of cholesterol, the carriers that move it all around, and this fascinating debate over how to measure the real risks. Armed with this new understanding of particle size versus total volume, what are you going to ask your doctor at your next checkup? The science of cholesterol is constantly evolving, so I highly encourage you to investigate these methods a bit further for yourself. Look past that old villain narrative and start a new, highly informed conversation with your healthcare provider to truly take charge of your cardiovascular health.